With me now is super talented DJ, producer and highly sought after mastering engineer who's released music on some of the world's leading record labels including 𝗟𝗘𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍, Toolroom, 𝗟𝗚𝗡 and Nervous Records. If he's not in his impressive spaceship-esque studio, he's probably on the road, touring and DJing around the world. So, with that said, we are very lucky to have him with us here today on the podcast. Please welcome 𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍, also known as GAWP.
Moon comes up, the night is young, and we've only just begun. Gonna take my time.
Ollie, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Great. You've just recently got back from Miami for Miami Music Week. How was that?
Yeah, it was good, as you can see from my tan lines. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, really good.
What were you up to there?
I think I played 4 gigs. So I played 4 gigs in different areas, on rooftops, in poolside, pool parties, did nightclubs till like early hours and stuff like that. So it was really cool.
I bet you were with some cool people as well.
Yeah, it was good. It was it's quite surreal. Like, you'll just be walking down the street and they'll be like, biggest DJs in the world just having a burger or something. So.
Yeah, sounds cool. Sounds really fun. Right, so I'd love to start with just talking a little bit about what you do. It was covered briefly in the intro, but I'd love to hear in your words, what do you do for work on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis, my main income, I must say, if it was the thing that earns me the most money, is mixing and mastering and music production. But I also do everything from sample packs, create plugins. I do a lot of teaching. I do lots of various things, all based in music and the music industry, really. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that as we go through this podcast. So let's go back to when it all started for you. What made you interested in getting into music as a career? What sparked your interest in music?
Right. So very early days, like back in '98, I went to Ibiza and I took a passport, and they had a letter from my mum saying that I could leave the country. I was only 16, and she was like, "Oh, you've left school now. You can go and have a holiday before you start work." And I went to Ibiza, and it was just like, it changed my life. I just got back and I was like, I want to be a DJ. I've seen all the French house at the time. It was like even tracks like 𝗟𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗍𝗍 and all that kind of thing. They were brand new, and that era was really good for music. So saw all the Ministry of Sound stuff, and I was like, that's what I want to. Yeah, that's where it started, really.
Yeah. Can you remember any specific DJs that stood out to you on that trip to Ibiza?
I probably didn't. Back then. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to go see. I didn't know anything. I remember watching Ibiza Uncovered on the on video back then, and it was like a weekly show, and it was similar to what we're doing now, but it was go around Ibiza and talk to people and on the clubbing holidays and stuff like that, and that really got me into it. So I think it was Clockwork Orange, which was around that time at 𝗟𝗘𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍. Then we went to I think it was Chaos, which is now Eden. Back then, but I didn't know where to go. We were literally like 3 of us were 16 and one lad was 15, and at that age we were just so young, and we got scooters and drove like crazy drunk and stuff.
Sounds like the best way to do it at that age.
Yeah, but way back.
If you could go back to 16-year-old Ollie when he's just starting out as a DJ, as a producer, just loving the whole scene, what advice would you give to 16-year-old Ollie?
I don't know, because it's so different now to what it was back then. So any advice now would have to be adjusted for back then. But the thing I wouldn't adjust is like looking after your hearing, because I never really did when I was younger. So I just used to, stand in front of speakers. So I'd give myself put earplugs in back then, and possibly, maybe don't drink so much as well.
And at what point did you realise that music could be a career option for you rather than just something that's a hobby that you love?
Well, when I was 15, I went to careers advice, and they said, pick off this list what you want to do when you leave school. And there wasn't music on it. And I still want to do music. And they're like, you can't. So I picked hairdressing of all things. So I just did hairdressing just because I thought if I've got scissors, I can earn money wherever I'm at. So I didn't really understand you could make money from it. So what I used to do was I did the school discos and things like that, where I was a bit before, just before I left, I was doing the youth club discos, at the school. And then realised I got paid 30 quid. And I was like, you can get money from this. So while I was working in the daytime and the weekends, I'd just do birthday parties, weddings, anything that I could get bookings for, really. I used to put posters up, and then I realized that, actually you can earn money from DJing, and people do want DJs, and it's because you find all the good ones are really busy and they've got not got time, and then people would book you because they couldn't get anyone.
Yeah.
So there was that's when I was like, actually. But a lot of the best paid gigs were from like the things that you didn't really want to do, like weddings.
Yeah. So. Would you recommend that DJs starting out take those gigs or avoid those gigs if they're wanting to aim for the sort of club festival scene?
I'd say as long as you don't shout about it, they pay the best. So if you're doing a wedding, for example, and they give you like 500-600 quid, you ain't going to turn that down, because especially when you're starting, you're not going to get that for an hour set doing house music. So I'd say just don't shout about it and take the money. What were they called? Cash and dash gigs. That's what I used to call them. So
interesting. So you've not always been GAWP. You used to be half of a duo called the 𝗬𝗧𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍𝗓.
Yeah.
How and when did GAWP come about?
GAWP came around in 2014. Because I was in a duo for 10 years with Alex as the 𝗬𝗧𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍, and it was good. It was a phase. We were touring a lot. We did South Korea. We were touring with 𝗗𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗓 on Radio 1 at the time, and we were playing Judgment Sundays. 𝗟𝗜𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍 was on Radio 1. So we were doing that, Mallorca and Ibiza. And then the music trends changed. So what happened was the dubstep came along, Scream, Banger, Animac, all like went on to Radio 1, and a lot of like Kissy and Jules and those guys sort of like, it was a phase of dubstep and new sound. So we all kind of stuck to our guns, but it changed. So in, I think, 2014, we were like, we've had a good run at this. And Alex had kids and chose the family life for a bit. And I just started GAWP just because it was like, I just made some weird sounds, and that's how it started.
What about the name?
Oh, the name came from, I made a track and then I played it to my friend, and he just like stared at me and went, and I said, "Why are you gawping at me?" And he was like, "What's gawping?" I went, "GAWP." And he went, "I don't know what it is." So I called the track GAWP, and then I looked on SoundCloud to see if there's any tracks called GAWP. There wasn't, and there wasn't any artists called GAWP. So I just thought, I found something on SoundCloud that no one's called, which is really rare.
That's super rare. That's really lucky as well, that it works so well. Like, it's got a really like punchy ring to it. Yeah,
that's it. And normally you find someone on SoundCloud with the name you want, but they'll have like 4 followers and inactive and got 1 track.
Yeah.
And so, so I was just like, I called it that for it. I thought that'll do for now.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 11 years.
And what's the difference working in a duo or a group compared to working as a solo artist?
There's a lot of pros and cons. It was good being in a duo because you were with your best friend touring the world and doing stuff, but it also held you back because a lot of promoters wouldn't pay for 2 flights, or you couldn't play the smaller shows because they wouldn't, the budgets weren't big enough for 2 people. So we would just always go together. We would always play together, but we just won't earn money half the time because we were like, no, we're not splitting up. So.
And what about in terms of production? I'm guessing when you used to work in the studio together, you could bounce off each other's ideas and get opinions and sort of feedback. Is there someone now that you work as a solo artist that you go to get those second opinions on tracks?
Yeah, definitely. Well, before I used to do a lot of the washing up and making coffees and teas and stuff while Alex was playing the keyboard because he was really good at it. And he still is. He's amazing on the keys and production side. So it was like very much like I was just sort of like going, I was coming in with the ideas. And then when we sort of like partied as the 𝗬𝗧𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍𝗓, I had to like then start learning like how to play the keyboard and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I kind of, I still work with people, I still work with friends, collaborate, then we'll learn off each other. And I think it's a really important thing to work with people and make sure, you grow together because it's more fun. And also you don't just get in a rut really of your own bad habits.
Do you have one particular person that you tend to go to for a second opinion on a track?
Not really, because it's kind of, it depends on what type of music you're making, because if you know it's for a certain label or a certain sound, or like, because sounds change so much, and one sound an element can change the track and take it on a totally different direction just by having that sound in there. It's hard to sort of say. If it was like a production side, you'd probably lean towards the producers that are making that sound, and then send it to sort of like them friends and say, what do you think of this? But yeah, sometimes I'll just can it off and be like, oh, I'll just come back to it, and then never do.
Yeah.
So
Nice. So something I find really interesting about you and your whole brand and image as an artist is how you market and brand yourself. I don't see many DJs or artists market themselves how you do, because you have really cool stickers with your face and your name on. And I've also seen you play at festivals, and you have people out in the crowd with big flags that say GAWP and have your face on, which is such a unique and clever way of branding yourself, and it really captures people's attention. Do you have any other advice for people in terms of branding and marketing yourself as an artist?
Right. It's interesting you say that, because I've come from a background of throwing parties. So I always put on events. I always sold out clubs and things like that. So that's what was ingrained in me. You know, I've always given out stickers. I used to actually have a company just printing CDs, and everyone that came to an event got a CD. So it was my latest mix, or the headliner's latest mix. And it's ingrained in me to be, you know, hustling and making sure that everyone knows about the branding, knows about the name and things like that. Whether it works as much in this day and age, I'm not quite sure, because, you know, like, it's great having things at festivals like flags and everything and stuff like that, but how many people actually make note of that and go, oh, actually, well, let's remember what that says. I'm going to have a 3-day festival. I wonder if I can remember that, unless it's on videos or photos.
Well, I was going to say, I think everything pretty much now is documented on the phone, so they probably see it after and think, oh, he was sick, like, I'll go follow him now.
And also, I'll take a leaf out of, like, sort of Americans' book, because they have things called totems and, like, totem poles, and they have lights on and everything, and their festivals are really wild. So because I play over there a lot, I can see a lot of influence from that. So I guess that's from it as well. Making sure, you know, and sometimes you look at it and go, unless they've got big LED screens at some of the festivals, or if they've got something with your branding on, it's kind of like, you don't have to do all that stuff, but I think it's a bit extra, and people love it. People want to get involved and be part of the festival and be part of the, like, promotions. And there's nothing better than your friends drunk or at a festival with a roll of stickers, you know. They love it. So
it's a win-win for you, the crowd, and your mates, isn't it? Yeah, I love that. I love the stickers idea. So as you mentioned, you've toured around the world. You've played in so many cities in America, in the UK, Asia. Is there a particular moment, set, crowd, place that has stuck with you for some reason?
I'll tell you one moment that stuck with me was when we played in Taiwan, and our interpreter said, we played a festival. It was really, took us 24 hours to get there. We got there, we got on the stage, and then we started playing, and the guy pulled us off stage after 20 minutes. What are you doing? We were like, what do you mean, what we're doing? We're like, it was like, what's this music? And we went, it's house music. And he was like, oh, we want rap music. And I was like, you're joking? He was like, no, we want rap music. And I wanted rap music, and we didn't go back on. So we went all the way to Taiwan, played rap music for 20 minutes, and then took us off. And I said to the guy, why did you book us if you thought we played rap music? He says, oh, I've looked at your website and you look like rap artists.
Stop it.
So it's just off from the website.
How long ago was this?
Probably about 2013. I think something like that.
That's just, were you playing out in that side of the world, other gigs, or did you go away just for that gig?
Booked by Heineken to go and play. And the posters, I couldn't even read the posters. It just had our faces on, and it was all in Taiwanese. So
that's funny. Well, probably not at the time, but looking back, it's a good story.
That's a good story. I mean, you know, it probably didn't answer your question, but it's a good story.
No, it did answer my question.
All right.
On that topic of interesting things that happen at sets and during gigs, there was a funny video that I saw recently on Instagram of you when you were DJing, I think in America, and a girl came up to you and requested a song, and you were so quick with your comeback saying, don't have it, the next DJ will play it though, which was so clever, because I think a lot of DJs do struggle with those mid-set interactions with audience members, especially when it's song requests, because you don't want to just sound rude or shut it down straight away. So that was super quick and clever. Is there any other tips and tricks or advice you have for people that are DJing or performing and they have song requests or audience interactions?
Well, I learned that through the wedding industry.
Right.
So you imagine lots of like drunk grandmas coming up to you telling them to turn off that boom boom rubbish and play some, something they can dance to. So I kind of learned that along the way. So, I mean, tips wise, for when you get to a certain level, you don't get people coming to you. But they guarantee there's some of the small intimate clubs you will do. They'll get people coming up and going, oh, have you got this? Have you got that? And I either say, yes, in a bit, I'll play it soon, or I've just played it. So if you'd been here 3 hours ago, someone else had played it, or I haven't got it, or anything like that. I just make up an excuse. I mean, I've had people throw money at me, like 20, 30 quids. And
Really?
yeah. Just going, oh, play some, play this, play that.
Okay, so in terms of preparing for your DJ sets, how do you prepare for them personally?
I get on record box and I swear at it quite a lot just before my set because I hate record box, man. I love Pioneer products, but record box is terrible. I hate it. And I always stress out. I always put my sticks in, try and I don't prep enough, to be honest, because I produce a lot of I produce all my own music, but because I produced it, all I do is throw it on a stick and then just freestyle. I never really plan a set. I do sometimes. I did a Budweiser competition in London, in Camden, because obviously we had to play like 40 tracks in like 20 minutes and we had to mash it up. So that was a different style, but I'd never really, I hate planning sets because I'll think, right, I'm going to look at the crowd, and if it's a bit flat, I just want to switch it up. So I know I just have my box of tools and then I just sort of throw it together. But that's just the way I've been brought up. From the years of playing records as well. I used to have to do that. I couldn't plan, I could put my records in an order, but I could never really, I'd have them sticking out the box for which ones I'm going to play next, but I couldn't really, do as much editing and all stuff like that because I've produced the records. I don't need to edit them down too much.
Yeah, so would you say it's more about knowing your tracks rather than having a specific set list beforehand?
And I get about 1,000 tracks a week sent on promo, and it's just way too much. So I have to make sure that I know them inside out. Otherwise, if I put 100 tracks on every week, I just won't even know the records properly. So I might do edits, I might not. It just depends on but I'd rather just do it on the CDJs.
Yeah.
So instead of record box.
Yeah. So super interesting to hear about the DJing side of things. And as you mentioned earlier, mixing and mastering is a big part of what you do in the studio.
Yeah.
For people that may not work in music production, could you briefly explain what goes into making a track radio and dance floor ready through mixing and mastering?
Right. So, when you produce a track, it's like, the only way to describe it is it's like making table legs. So you've got your kick, your bass, and then you might have your vocals and whatever else, your effects, and you need to make them all sort of similar lengths. Otherwise the table's not going to sit flat. And it's similar to sort of mixing. So you're mixing everything, making sure everything's, got enough headroom. So when it's eventually mastered, it's turned up and it's at a professional level, so it'll sound good on all sound systems and things like that. So it's quite an important part of the process, but it's not as important as coming up with the track itself. So making sure the track itself is good is the most important part of the production, and then that's kind of like the laminating, the icing on the cake at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's where again experience comes in. When you've DJed to various crowds and different people, then you start understanding what people like and what they want, and then you put that into your tracks.
Yeah. And who are some artists that you've mixed or mastered or both before?
There's been quite a lot. There's been some I didn't know who they were. I just got it through my services, and I won't have known until I hear the track and think, hang on a minute, I've heard that before. I've done that, because it might be through the management or something. But I've worked with the likes of people like Idris Elba, Chicane. I've just done 4 versions of his new album. I've done. I actually did a mix and mastered a track by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
He's sick.
Yeah, and then it was. I was listening to it, going, "That's the Spice Girls," and then I saw Mel C talking about it, and she was like, "Oh, I like to finish my set on this techno remix of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and it's like," and I was like, "Hang on a minute, I mixed and mastered that. So yeah, so there's things
I never knew that you mixed and mastered that, because I heard that a lot the past couple of festival seasons, or last year and the year before, and it just goes off every time, and it is such a crisp track. But I never knew that you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, their team reached out and sort of needed help on the final master. So yeah,
that's iconic. Spice Girls.
I know.
And on the topic of your mastering, mixing and mastering, could you tell us a little bit about your company, Most Wanted Audio?
Yeah, Most Wanted Audio started in 2019, and it evolved from me sort of just doing my own music into offering my services to other people, because it was perfect timing, probably, pre-2020. So I was just like, I was setting it up thinking, I was busy. Do I just concentrate on Go, or do I do this? But it really pushed me out my comfort zone and started making me, do the mastering side of things a lot more, which I'd never done. So I did a load of courses on that, and then, set that up, and then, the rest is history, really. Just did it.
And if people want to find you and they want to use your services, how do they find?
Mostwantedaudio.com.
Amazing. And just while we're on that topic, you've recently released a new plugin called Lock Up.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that as well, please?
Yeah, it was actually developed with my old friend Alex, the one who used to be in the duo with.
Yeah.
So he was like the brains behind it all, but I created all the sound and the GUI, which is the graphic user interface. So that was kind of like, right, I kept, every time I was making a track, I kept having to like bring up my own like sub basses and all my sounds and everything else, or load in a 𝗟𝗓𝗧𝗔𝗓 Roland, and then I was just like, it'd be so easy just to putting it all into one plugin, so I don't have to keep making these or bringing them up every time. So I use it, and people are like, "Oh, I've just made a full track out of your plugin and stuff." So it's really inspiring for people. It's a go-to tool, and it's it's less than 50 quid. So
that's amazing, and I think all the best things come out of you wanting something that doesn't already exist, and then you creating that, and then everyone else is happy as well because they get to access it as well. So that's really cool that's kind of how that came about. Okay, so just a few more things, because your career is so vast. I feel like you've done so much in the music industry. You've probably kind of been in every sector of the music industry. You work also in tutoring and mentoring. I know you do your DJ retreats in Ibiza. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the guys set that up in 2019, I think, was the first one, and then there was a break for a bit. But yeah, I've been doing that sort of like 6 years now. There's the guys, 𝗗𝗘𝗧𝗔𝗖𝗍, and they set it up. Dolly did originally. He's one of my long-time friends. I've known him a lot of years. He used to be like Ibiza Rocks resident and did all these other stuff. And he's a great guy. So he set it up, and he was like, there's sort of like almost like 10 villas all in one space, and then we have 24 students, or 48 if it's a 2-week retreat, and then we have Pioneer come in, we have Dolby Atmos come in, and I'm one of the tutors that teaches like Logic or Ableton. And we've had loads of big celebrities in there. We've had people like Sam Divine, Todd Terry, also we've had Junior Sanchez, Golf Clap, and this year we've got Hot Chip, we've got Orbital, we've got 𝗗𝗘𝗧𝗔𝗓,
Wow.
And many more. I can't remember them all, so sorry. There's also all the mentors, which is like Joshua, there's Houseworks, there's Devon James. And what we do is we do the retreats it's all health and well-being as well. So there's mindfulness, there's yoga, there's meditation, there's all that kind of stuff as well. So it's trying to balance out in the music industry, not just not just going raving till the early hours. It actually helps on how to look after your mental health with Hummingbird. We are Hummingbird and all stuff like that. So it's quite a big operation. So that's why I can't remember it all. But
I love that, because it just makes the music industry, specifically the dance music industry, just feel a little bit more balanced with life. I think some people see it as all or nothing, go crazy party, but it's nice how you've got the balance, especially from the DJ side. And can anyone get involved in these, or do you have to have DJ experience?
No, anyone can do it. Like literally, a lot of people come and they never touched the decks in their life, and they're just seeing it and thought, I want a piece of that.
Yeah.
I just want to go to Ibiza and spend a week with all these legends and learn from the best. And as long as they've got the money, it's a great experience. Because the thing is, what better experience than being like with, you know, being a week in a small confined sort of complex with like, when are you gonna, you know, be with like say Gorgon City for a week? You're not, are you? And
So cool.
and it's really special as well because over the years the group's grown bigger. Like so the WhatsApp group and the community groups are growing bigger. So everyone supports each other. So when someone has a release or a gig, they all show up, and it's quite a special thing. So.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned. I think it's called. Is it Orbit DJ?
Yeah,
Retreat?
Orbit DJ Retreats.
Cool.
Yeah.
So definitely something to check out if
Yeah, man.
budding DJs. Okay, so going back to when you first started releasing music, what sort of point in your career was that? How old were you?
When I first started releasing, well, I first started doing remixes with Alex because we didn't like the originals. We wanted to play stuff, but we were like, we can't really just play it because no one will know it. So we started doing remixes. But when I first started myself, it was probably 2009 when I started like doing production. It was very different back then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the computers were rubbish compared to what they are now. Like now you can have so many plugins on and they're really powerful and everything. But
So you kind of grew with the technology then, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time that you played out one of your own tracks?
Yeah, I think it cleared the dance floor.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that feel though, playing your own track and hearing it on that club sound system or festival sound system?
I guess because I did the remix stuff, it was quite easy because people knew it, so they danced to it anyway because they knew the song already. So I can't really say it was my own. But when I started playing my own tracks that were successful, the ones that were on like Spotify and doing really well and everything, that was good. But the problem with that is then you have to play it every gig, so you get so sick of it, and everyone's singing along to your song, and you're just like, yeah, you have to sort of like, yeah, it's just like you're reliving it every time.
Yeah, it's interesting because some artists, I know you and Vicar and Pendulum have stopped playing their big hits for that reason.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And you've released tracks for some big labels. You've released with 𝗟𝗘𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍, 𝗟𝗘𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍𝗍, Elro, Nervous Records. What's your advice to up-and-coming producers that are trying to get their tracks signed to labels?
I'd say you just got to get used to rejection. No, I think that's the thing. You've just got to be thick-skinned because you send your music to, especially nowadays, because the market's flooded with music. It's really difficult to get known unless you've got a unique selling point, because a lot of labels will judge you on the sound, especially if they're a big unit. You know, if they've got a big infrastructure, they've got teams around them, and they put a lot into the releases. Say, for example, a label spends minimum of £5,000 or euros on a release. They have to put that music in front of the team and say, right, let's look at this as like, is it a great track? Is it well produced? What's the social media like? Does that artist have, do they have a PR team? Do they have a management? Do they have their infrastructure around it? So when you're a great producer and you're making amazing tracks, sometimes it won't get signed because you haven't got the other parts to it. And then other times it'll be, a lot of that's more for the bigger labels that I've dealt with. Like some labels, really big labels, will only take you if you're exclusive to them and you do like a 5-track deal or an album deal and things like that. So there's that side of it. So it just depends. What you have to look at is your end goal. So when your end goal is, if you know what it is, you want to be signed to an underground cool label that's got a collective that people are starting. You can see there's a hype around the party. It's getting 200-300 people in. The parties are really good. The vision's good, the branding and everything. If you're aiming for that, that's probably a lot easier and a lot smarter route, growing with a few small pockets of independent parties, stroke labels and brands. And I think that's a cool way to go. But I think when you're looking at the business side of it, sometimes you want to be signed to these top ones, but it's also the top ones don't always give you the best deals, or they might just sign your publishing away to them and things like that. So it's just a bit of a minefield because it's case by case, really.
You mentioned about how it's helpful if there are newer producers wanting to get signed to these bigger labels. It's helpful to have a manager and a sort of team around them. If there's an independent producer now thinking, I have no idea how to get a manager or an agent, what would your advice be in terms of making a step towards having your own team?
I think if you're an artist and if you work hard, this is one thing I've realised, when you work really hard, people can't ignore that. People can't unsee that you're working hard, because people think they're going somewhere and everyone wants to be part of that journey. Everyone wants to jump on the success train. So that's why when you start getting some hype and you get things around you, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I need a manager, I need an agent, or a team around me," but they need to come to you. Don't go looking for them, and they will. They'll come to you because people come to you and they'll think they can make money out of you, or you've got a career in you. So there's that, or you might just set up with your friends. Your friends might be managers or agents, and then you might just go, we're setting up a management company. Do you want to be part of it? So there's different approaches really, but from my experience, I've always let them come to me. I mean, obviously, I've had conversations with a lot of them, and then sometimes it doesn't work out whichever way. But usually, it's kind of like people see what you're doing and see where you're going and think, "Oh yeah, I want to be part of that," because it's in the music industry, it's offer a new sound or a new trend. So if you creating a sound that people aren't creating, people are like, you get known for that sound, which is hard now because a lot of things have been done. But it's very much like if you look at, for example, people like 𝗟𝗓𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍𝗓 or deadmau5, or you instantly people go, "Oh, it sounds like 𝗟𝗓𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍𝗓," or it sounds like 𝗵𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗟𝗏, or it sounds like different genres. They're the people that pioneer first, so they're I think that helps as well. So if you just stick to your sound and be unique, I think eventually it'll come to a point where people will go, everyone sounds like you. So.
That's interesting. So sort of the ideology of keep doing stuff and stuff starts happening for you.
Yeah,
and going searching for it.
Yeah, rather than because a lot of people I see now that because I've done it for so long, there's a lot of younger people, and I think in the studio they're not as talented. They're not making the music's not up there with the rest of the the big players that have I'm talking like the guys that are multi-millionaire, Ibiza residencies, they've got mansions, and they're just they're making music videos, and they've been for 20 years.
Yeah,
the music's not up there with them, and the budgets aren't up there with them, but at the same time people can see the hype that they're creating, and that's again, that's the clout and the hype is really important. So people are jumping on that and going, "Oh, there's a long career in this new artist," and so they're developing team a lot of 360 deals around an artist. So.
Interesting. That's really insightful, and that's great advice to people that are starting out in their journey in the music industry. So Ollie, you grew up in Scarborough in Yorkshire. What was that like growing up there?
It was all right, but from someone that lived next to the sea, I hate the sand. I hate sand between your toes. So, but other than that, it was good because I had a good period of like 10 years running events there. So yeah, there was a alternative music venue there. So it was wicked, called Viva's. Ran sessions for 10 years, and it was some good times because it was like Scarborough's like the armpit of England, and it's like there was nothing really going on. And then I spotted a gap in the market and brought all the city sort of ideas into the small town.
Interesting. I mean, that kept you away from the sand at least.
Yeah.
And what about actually growing up there, like primary school, high school? What was that like?
Yeah, it was all right. Education wasn't the greatest, especially in the secondary school, because I didn't get any GCSEs. I didn't get any. I think I got one in speaking and listening, but that didn't count. So a lot of people are like, "What, you didn't get any grades?" And I was like, "Nah," because I knew I just wanted to do music, and I didn't want to do nothing else. That's all I wanted to do. So I guess, and it was different back then. It was like 90s. The schools were so different. You forgot your PE kit. You had to wear this one 10 times too small for you, and you just got laughed at. Nowadays, that don't happen, I don't think.
Yeah. Do you think that your career path could have been different if you'd have enjoyed the more academic side of school? I mean, music's academic too, but I mean, if you enjoyed the science, maths and English more.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was very, I'd like to say our school was quite rough. We had all you have to do is look back now at a school photo, and like most people are like you're in prison, or most people got done for things you shouldn't do, and there's a lot on there, and you just go, that's quite. But for some reason, it was our year. It wasn't the other years above or below. It was just that I think I just got the short straw.
Yeah.
So because my birthday was just after it was in September, so it was just after otherwise 2 weeks before I'd have been in the year below.
It's interesting you say about the whole not engaging with school, but you've still made a successful career, even though you mentioned that you got no GCSEs. Have you ever been into schools to talk to the kids about alternative careers?
I've done that quite a lot. I did it for a lot of years. I worked for 𝗬𝗓𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗟 County Council. I did some for West Yorkshire. I did a lot of. I did some for DJ School UK with 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗟, great guy. So I did some stuff there. Just doing like, I used to say to them that like I didn't listen at school and now my job is to listen. So it's like I obviously learned something, but yeah, sort of teaching, and it's surprising because people find that music, music's like one of those things that it's a universal language where people can just pick it up and be like, oh, it's something I'm really interested in. That's why a lot of like youth work do it, and a lot of people like, keep people out of trouble and things like that. It's something to keep them focused on, in youth clubs and things like that after school. So yeah, it's quite a powerful thing.
What would you like to see more of in schools and the curriculum?
Well, for me, we're getting political now, but for me, it was like my grandma was Italian, so I started learning Italian when I was younger. Then when I went to secondary school, it was like you can do Spanish, French, or German, and I was like, no Italian. Then the Spanish, they asked the Spanish, it was French or German, so I chose German, and it was like, but you don't really get a choice what you can choose.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is like, if you go to a primary school or secondary school and you want to be a plasterer, there's not really any education. Whereas if you spent your last 3 years looking at plastering or building and putting something you actually wanted to do, I think you'd have a better career path. That's my opinion, but
No, I totally agree with that. When you were that age and you were in school and, your home life, did you grow up around a lot of music?
Yeah, my parents they influenced me. Yeah, they used to listen to all sorts of music, and my dad used to tape like Radio 1 essential mixes, used to write on all the tape spines and put them in like Carl Cox, 1999 New Year's Eve, and he just put them on repeat and stuff. And so that was kind of like my inspiration. So
Was it primarily dance music you grew up with?
no, all sorts, everything from reggae to rock, on my old dad's vinyl collection. Yeah, I used to listen to that. I used to listen to world music like 𝗗𝗓𝗧𝗔𝗓, everything really. The KLF, used to listen to people like KLF, Chaos Theory, 𝗬𝗓𝗧𝗔𝗓 Saints way back, and loads of different things. So.
Yeah. And it's shaped your sound today, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I listen to it now and I think, oh, why did I used to listen to that? But at the time, that was, it was cutting edge.
Yeah. And then at what point would you say it kicked off for you in your ventures in music?
Right. The time it actually kicked off, this is what I get asked a lot in interviews, is it's when I just didn't give a fuck anymore. I was just like, do you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care what people think. I don't care what sounds I need to make. I'm just going to do it for myself and just have fun and not worry about money, politics, or anything. Just be a proper artist and just go for it and just do it. If no one likes it, at least I've pleased myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you don't decorate your house for other people to go, oh, I like your house. You're sat in it the most of the time.
Yeah.
So you want to make it how you want it. So that's basically where it all started, because I was trying to chase trends. I was trying to like jump on things, and then obviously that works, but I was just like sick of it because you were just sort of like trying to please other people.
And so during that time, was there a particular moment, whether that be a gig or a record got signed, that really kicked that off for you?
Not so much really. It was weird because the whole thing about GAWP was I didn't have any press photos. I had no pictures online for like probably it was 2014 I started it, and 2018 I started getting signed to labels. Well, it all started kicking off. So 4 years, I didn't have any pictures. I didn't tell anyone it was me. And I just wanted the music to work. So I knew if I'm sending people music, they're getting in their emails. And then eventually, if it's right, people will start. And then next thing I know, people are like, oh, I want to book you. Will you come and play America? Will you come do this? Will you do that? So I knew the music was right because I didn't want people to think it was me from my duo before. So I thought if it's not hitting right, and then so I took a selfie of myself for my press shot. I just did the arm's reach and went like that. Took a photo. I tried to be a human tripod, and then
Right on brand.
Yeah, and then I just did that, and then they kept that. And then someone said to me, "Your music's really good, but your pictures are shocking." So I got some pictures done.
What about your music? Has anyone ever told you that was bad? Because have you ever faced any harsh criticism?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, people always say to me, "Oh, you can put more music in your music." They always like be more musical and put more like melodies in, more, actual music into it. But I'm just like, nah, I just like making crazy sounds, and I like it, if the dance floor dance to it, that's all that matters, to me.
Yeah. Do your friends and family like what you do?
I think they do. Anything I don't like I've made and I don't like, they usually like that.
Yeah.
And anything I love, they usually hate.
So you just got to do your own thing, because there's always going to be people that love it and don't like it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. So we've discussed Scarborough. Why and when did you decide to make the move to Leeds?
When I couldn't get a job and all the clubs shut down, because I used to do events there. And then, like there's still no nightclubs in Scarborough. They're all shut down. There's a few bars, but they were all closed. And I was like, right, I need to move to Leeds and I started a job at a music production company called This Is Distorted, produced radio shows for 10 years with those guys. And then while I was doing that, I was making my own GAWP music. And then, it kind of took off. So I left that. And then, that's where I am today.
Nice. And do you still play in Leeds often?
Sometimes, not very often though. It's, no, I don't. I'm more in America, which is crazy. 4,000 kilometers away. So I get more gigs in like America than probably in a month than I do in Leeds in like a year.
That's interesting. Yeah. Are there any venues in Leeds that you particularly like playing when you do play in Leeds? It's
hard because most of them have shut down now, to be honest. I've played Leeds for a lot of years, and a lot of the clubs have closed, or they've changed hands. And I think I used to play the super clubs, or were called super clubs back then, where you were allowed to smoke in them as well. And they'd have 3,000-4,000 people every week, just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was everyone's entertainment going to these clubs. And I used to be like the resident DJ and play the vinyl, that kind of thing. So it was I used to play a lot in Leeds, and then obviously as the city's got it's got more subculture kind of events nowadays, and a lot of there is a lot of good clubs still, but there's a lot that are sort of struggling to sort of fill the big clubs. But so to answer your question, I haven't got a favourite place, but no.
No. What were some of the super clubs that you used to play, for anyone listening that might have been going out?
Right, back then when you had to wear shoes to go in nightclubs, and shirts and jeans for the guys, and you weren't allowed trainers, you weren't allowed caps on in clubs. And they used to do those events where you could pay £10 in on a Thursday and just have a free bar, which is unheard of nowadays, unless you go to like Kavos or somewhere.
Yeah.
So the clubs were things like Icon Diva, Liquid Envy, a similar sort of brand, similar company that ran those throughout the UK. There was places like Kingdom Sheffield. There was big places like Trilogy in Doncaster, where it had 3 rooms. That's what it's Trilogy, and it had huge things there. And I used to drive up and down England quite a lot and play at these places. Mr. Smith's in Warrington, I was a resident there. We used to get load out the ceiling, come down like 40 foot out the ceiling, playing like Adagio for strings, and Southside Spinners, Love Struck, and all them Ibiza classic bangers and stuff. And we used to get a lot of celebrities in there and things like that. So
how do you feel it's changed DJing now in 2025 compared to back then?
Well, definitely, it's definitely changed in music, because you play like a 6-7 minute track, start to finish, and you just have like a 2-minute, 3-minute mix. But whereas like now, it's sort of like people's attention spans are sort of like, you watch a lot of videos, you see a lot of artists. Not so much in the underground world, but especially like nowadays, everyone's just like, it's like what I used to DJ as student nights. It'd be like, I'd sort of drop I'd play something like Queen, We Will Rock You, and while everyone's singing, then I'd drop in House of Pain, and cut out things like that. And that sort of style is a lot more current now, where people just want that instant 30 seconds, like the classic extended mixes is like 3 minutes now, and it's like,
yeah, it's wild. So obviously you have played a lot of gigs in your time.
Yeah.
What is the craziest thing that's ever happened during one of your sets?
So me and Alex went to South Korea, and we got there, we played our gig, and then the interpreter was like, "Oh, I've got a gig. Let's go to this after party at this club." So I was like, "Oh yeah, cool, let's go with you," because he was our guide as well, our liaison. So we went to this club, we went in and we went to the DJ stand, and the guy gave us like 2 drinks vouchers, the manager, and we put our bags, our rucksacks, and with everything in it, like our passports, under the DJ stand. We thought it's safe there. He's DJing. Let's go get a drink. When he got a drink, I said to Alex, I just need the toilet. So I asked the security where the toilets were. I went, well, excuse me, where are the toilets? He says, oh, I'll show you. He says, oh, it's just through here. He opened the door. And just there. So we walked out, and as we walked out, he shut the door, and it was a fire escape. So it was like we were kicked out the back of the club. So what we had to do was our passports and everything are inside the DJ stand, and we couldn't speak one word. We couldn't even say thank you or anything. So I was like, what are we going to do? And he was like, I don't know. And we obviously had the guy's number, but we were trying to ring him anything. I thought, well, what do we do in this situation? So I remember when we got there, there was an underground car park, because where we parked the car. So I thought, oh, we'll go down there. So we went down, and there was behind the bar, there was a fire escape, and this guy was pouring bottles into the bin. So I ran through the fire escape behind the bar, and it came out, and there was a bar. It's like something out of a film, right? And I looked, and I just realised that you couldn't get out the bar because all the staff come in the back entrance. So I jumped over the bar, ran through the crowd, with the security chasing me, ran round back behind the DJ stand, grabbed both our bags, ran to the front of the club, and then as I was running to the exit, the doorman was sort of stood there, the one that threw us out in the middle, and I tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around like that, and I obviously ran round that side and got out, and I got Alex, and I said, let's get back to the hotel. So that was pretty crazy, because you're all the way in South Korea.
Yeah.
You can't speak a word of thingy, and you didn't have your passports.
Had you DJ'd at this club?
No, it was another club.
It was another
Yeah,
club.
it was another club.
Oh my God.
So that was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I was invited as a guest. I was like, but it was mental. We were pretty scared.
Yeah. Would you go back to play in South Korea?
Yeah, we played there 6 years in a row.
Wow.
So, yeah, we released albums there with Apple and iTunes and all sorts. We were big in South Korea. It was crazy.
Cool. So you've had a lot more positive experiences in South Korea than that crazy one, but it's a good story to tell.
Yeah, definitely.
So I wouldn't say that's a terrible thing that's happened. That's just more of a funny story.
Yeah.
Is there anything that has happened mid-set that you're panic mode?
Yeah, we got booked to play in Poland once, and we went to Warsaw, and I think it was called Lustro, this club. And I said to the owner, oh, it's a cool club, and it had rugs down, and it also had candles on the stairs, which we wouldn't have candles going up the stairs in a nightclub in England. It was zero health and safety, and we were
real candles.
Yeah, real
What you meant, little
No, proper candles on the tables, everything, and people were dancing crazy. We were just enjoying it. And I said to the owner, when does this close? And he goes, if busy, Tuesday, and it was Friday. And I went, what? He stays up? And he went, yeah. So this thing stayed open as long as people were buying drinks. Right. Anyway, me and Alex got in there. We went up to the DJ booth, and we went, right, where's the CD players? And they were like, because there was a guy DJing on his laptop, and he just went, oh, no, you bring your controller, yeah? We were like, no, we haven't got.
Oh, no.
I was like, you haven't got any CD players? Anyway, they went underneath the DJ stand, and they got out these reloop things, and they're real dusty and didn't work, and they were brushing it off. Plugged them both in, got a mixer, plugged it in, and we had our CD wallets at the time, and we were DJing on them, and they were so bad. And they're the percentage was Pioneer says 12.0, 12.2 or 1 or. This one said 12.0, no, and then they had about 8 notes after the decimal point, because it was so weird, because it was almost saying, if we just put that on, we know that it's nearer in between. So we did that. But the problem is, one of the CD players just jumped, right? So a guy had to hold it the full set, the full hour and a half. He had to hold it in his hand. So I had a guy stood there holding it, and to get the CD out, it was like the old dodgy PlayStations where you used to have to press the button and turn it on the side, because it just used to go spin. So you had to turn it on the side, press the eject it, swap my CD, and then he'd hold it again while we pressed play on it. And it was just weird, someone holding a CD.
Yeah. God, that's crazy. I mean, now the 3000s, that's total opposite to now, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Can you remember how long you were playing for?
Oh, it was 90 minutes, I think. But it was one of them where I think out of choice we stopped, but I think they would have had us playing 5 hours if they could.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They were fun people, and they looked after us great.
Yeah.
But even on that trip, we got there and they went, "Oh, your hotel's too far, so we've paid an old woman to leave a house so you can stay in a house tonight, which is next to the club." And because by the time we got there and gone to the hotel to come back again, like an hour each way, we would have missed our set. So they said, "Oh, they paid this woman." And we were in this woman's house and it was just full of like books, all in Polish and all the stuff still there. And it was just weird, but it was quite cool and nice in a way, you know?
You know what? I love that because I feel like if you got all the DJs that have played at that club, I bet you could make like a novel out of all the stories. But I love that because it's just different and quirky. Yeah. It was probably a little bit stressful at the time when you had to tip your CD out and you were staying in a random lady's house. But
things like that, they shape what your experience and your knowledge, you see. So sometimes, you know, the littlest things can stress you out, but it's how you deal with the situation.
True. And I guess it makes it a little bit easier then when you are dealing with like technology that's working as it should.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your recent release, Losing My Head, on 𝗗𝗘𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗍𝒂 Records?
Oh, yeah. That came about from last year. I went over to Miami Music Week and the Black V-neck boys, they run a label called Retail Records. And they put on a writing camp and they just took over these 5 studios and said, "Look, everyone jump in there and just cook really." So I was making a track with a guy called 𝗟𝗓𝗧, J-U-U-S-H. And then I think Michael jumped in, then Gabby G jumped in, got a microphone, and we just all came up with this track. And then I got stuck with it. So I sent it over to the Black V-neck guys and then they managed to shape it, make it, you know, pull it into shape, and then sent it over to Oliver Heldens for his label, and he loved it, so he signed it. So
nice.
Yeah,
I love like a good collaborative record, especially if it comes about quite organically, like at a writing camp.
Yeah, the thing about that is as well, it's difficult because you can have all the artists on the writing, but you can't have them in the title. So with Michael, and he was just in the writing credits because he helped with the keys. So, but I think you're only allowed up to maybe 3 or 4 on the actual title. So that's why the Black V-neck, Josh, me, featuring Gabby G.
Right. And if someone hasn't heard the track yet, which go listen to it after you've listened to this, how would you describe the track?
It's like a banging sine sub bass acid track with vocals, big build-ups, and it's very, very, very sort of US market, but nice. It's good, yeah.
I bet it goes off in the UK.
Yeah, it does. It's it's very, the Black V-neck boys are crushing it in America. They have done for a while, so they've, it was good to release with them because they're good guys off the pitch, you know.
And it leads us nicely actually to our last segment of this podcast, basically where I ask some quick fire questions, the sort of questions I'd be asking in a green room, trying to get to know someone who works in the dance music industry. Let's go. Best part of your job?
Listening to music.
Fair. Perfect. Hardest part of your job?
Putting up with certain clients. Yeah.
If you didn't work in music, what job would you be doing?
Probably on a record shop. Does that count?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd own a record shop.
Who is one person you would like to work with, collaborate with in the future?
I think it's never going to happen, but 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧. So, yeah, 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧 is sick, man.
Yeah, nice. If you could only play at 1 BPM for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Probably 666.
Fair.
Various reasons.
Festivals or nightclubs?
Festivals.
Yep. Any reason?
You can be sick on the floor and not get thrown out.
Point. Last question. Ableton or Logic?
Logic for mixing and mastering, Ableton for production and being creative and wacky with Max for Live.
Interesting. I feel like a lot of people are quite set on Ableton or Logic, so it's interesting that you use both.
Yeah, you've got to. You can't have a favourite child.
Yeah, fair enough. Ollie, GAWP, thank you so much for joining us today. If people would like to find out more about you or find you on socials, whereabouts can they find you?
Well, they can find me all over at GAWP Music. I've got GAWPmusic.com where you can get my plugin, or if you drop me a line on any of the social media. And if you want mastering doing, mostwantedaudio.com. But yeah,
Amazing.
thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Beyond the Booth with me, your host, Grace Garcia. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to check us out on social media at We Are Academy 94 and stay tuned for next week's episode. I'll see you there.